Briefcase Crimes contains graphic descriptions of violent events, loud dog noises, and very bad jokes, and is not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome, listeners, to Briefcase Crimes.
I'm Hannah, and I'm full of terrifying facts about horrific events.
I'm Liz, and I'm full of morbid curiosity.
Elizabeth.
Yes, Hannah.
Are you ready for this recording?
As usual, I'm ready as I'll ever be.
You're just excited to be here.
That's right.
So, you and I just spent a weekend together for my birthday.
Yes.
It was wonderful.
It was.
And we had watched Midsummer.
Which was so good.
It was so good.
We're like way behind on that too.
I know, but we had to wait to be together to watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk more about our thoughts on it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted desperately to find a cult-related crime.
Ooh.
But I couldn't.
No. Those are like my real favorites.
I know they are. And like... So my problem was I wanted to find a cult-related crime, and I wanted it to be kind of vintagey, so I didn't want to do like the 90s or anything like that. But also I didn't really want to cover like Jonestown or Heaven's Gate or whatever because they get covered so frequently.
Yeah.
But I think at some point maybe we might have to do like a multi-part episode about maybe the Manson family. If that would be interesting for you.
Ooh,
I'm not sure
maybe.
or not, but anyway, so this is not going to be the cult episode. But when we do the Manson family or whatever cult episode I do, I think it is going to have to be multiple parts. If that is something that you're interested in, and if that's something that our listeners are interested in, let us know.
Yeah, because that would probably just be the best way to handle something like that.
Yes. So if you're interested in that, let us know, and we'll maybe get onto it. So today we're not doing cults. We are handling a case from the 60s. There is an episode of A Crime to Remember about this.
One that I've seen.
I believe you have seen this, but I don't know if you'll remember it or not.
I didn't remember the last time. So when Anne Woodward, when we did that one I had seen A Crime to Remember. Totally remembered none of it. So sorry, I don't think it lived up to the name of the show.
A Crime to Remember unless you're Liz.
Unless you have ADHD.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Candy Mossler.
That's a cute name.
It is a cute name. She is a cute little lady as well. Our story begins on June 29th, 1964.
Okay.
After a night spent in the ER with their 4 adopted children, Candace Candy Mossler returned back to her husband, her estranged husband.
Always.
We love an estrangement.
Right.
So they returned to her estranged husband's Key Biscayne, Florida condo and found him dead.
Ooh.
Great way to begin a true crime story is with
Always.
a crime.
Yeah,
with a
usually.
crime. They found him wrapped in a blanket, and they called the police immediately. If you go to your first slide, this is the first time I've ever included something like this, but it is very tame in comparison.
Yeah.
But the first slide, underneath that blanket is Jacques Mossler.
That's a very big blanket. I will say that. It looks bigger than I would expect for like a human under a blanket.
I am not sure that that was the blanket that he was wrapped in or if that was something the police had done because the police found when they got there that he was stabbed 39 times.
Oh.
And was bludgeoned over the head. He was wearing only a white nightshirt, although some sources say a bathrobe. And they assumed it was a crime of passion because of the number of stabs, and also they had found that even the blanket had been stabbed through in some places.
Ooh, that's very personal.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the blanket because there doesn't appear to be any blood or stab marks on it.
Well, in my very extensive knowledge of CSI and Law and Order, to cover the face of the person usually means that they had a relationship, that they weren't strangers. So the fact that the body was covered and the number of stab wounds both lead, I would agree, that I would assume it would be a crime of passion based on that.
They also found a smashed, like near the body, there was a smashed glass swan vase. They theorized that that vase was used to bludgeon him.
Oh.
So that was one of the weapons. Let us, as I often do, rewind. We're going to go back to 1949. So if you go to your next slide here.
Okay.
So that is Jacques Mosler.
The victim.
The victim. Candace Mosler, whose last name was, or her maiden name was Weatherby. She married Jacques in 1949. They were both recently divorced. Candy so Candy's friends and Jacques called her Candy. Her real name was Candace.
Okay.
He had been married and had 4 children from his first wife. She had been married and had 2 children from her first marriage. So their blended family already had 6 kids.
Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch, even weirder coming up. We're gonna get more kids coming up.
Oh boy.
Candy was platinum blonde.
She have to be with a name like Candy. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. Can't be like a mousy brunette named Candy.
Right.
She was a platinum blonde. She was from Georgia, and she had sort of made her way in the world as a model.
Another model.
Exactly. So she kept her real age a secret. Like, she wouldn't tell anyone her age, but she was 20 years younger than Jacques when they got married.
Wow.
Jacques was a businessman from Houston, Texas. At the time, his estate was worth $33 million, which in today's money, 2020 money, is around $300 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Some things say it was more, but like that's the constant, like the one that I see the most. So that's what I'm gonna assume it was. From what I can read, he made his money in the oil industry, like his initial money. But he became involved in the financing business, so he gave people loans to buy cars and houses and businesses.
Sure.
And he was described as being pretty ruthless. And when loans weren't being paid back, he was like completely unafraid and unsympathetic to like go and repossess cars and homes and things like that.
So a Mr. Potter.
Not exactly.
No?
Not exactly.
And I don't mean Harry Potter, by the way. I do mean Potter the banker from It's a Wonderful Life.
You mean Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter.
That's right.
And a Happy New Year.
I know you knew that, but I do want to clarify that for our listeners.
You know that's Drew Barrymore's grandfather.
You know, I think I've heard that, but it has flittered out of my mind until you said it here.
Nothing flitters out of my mind. My mind is a steel trap.
I don't know what that's like.
I wish things that were important would stay in my mind.
Same.
So it's funny that you say he's Mr. Potter, because Mr. Potter is known as being like grumpy and curmudgeonly. If you go to your next slide, on the left there, that's Jacques.
Wow.
And on the far right there, that's Candy. And those children are their adopted kids. So in August of 1957, the Moslers adopted 4 children, all of them siblings.
Wow. That's admirable.
So I wish I could get more into this part of the story, but these children were orphaned. Their father was Leonard Glenn. He had a history of mental illness. And one night in January of 1957, the same year they were adopted, he shot his pregnant wife.
Oh.
And stabbed their infant son.
Oh my God.
I know. Like a horrific crime.
So they had 5 children and 1 on the way?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. He then took the 4 surviving kids, 3 boys and 1 girl, and put them in the car and just like drove aimlessly around the Chicago area. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Had to be terrifying for these children, right?
Yeah.
They drove around for a while until he crashed the car in the snow because it was January in Chicago.
Yeah.
Leonard Glenn was arrested and was committed to a state hospital. And Jacques Mosler from Houston, he had a lot of properties. So he had homes in Houston, Key Biscayne, and Chicago.
Okay.
So I think that's how he like came to know of this story, is from having homes in Chicago.
Right.
So he heard this story and he decided, instead of having these children be wards of the state and separated, I have the means, I have the money, I'm going to adopt these 4 kids.
Wow.
I know. Which, how often do you hear, it's sort of like an Annie, like a Daddy Warbucks thing, where like this millionaire comes and just scoops you up.
Yes. Yeah.
Out of these horrifying circumstances.
Of course, I'm skeptical just because of the nature of our show. I'm kind of like, but was it admirable though?
As far as I know.
Yeah?
As far as I know, no harm befalls these children.
Well, that's good. And that puts them up to, what, 10 kids in the house?
I don't know if Candy's kids lived there. I don't know if
they were grown.
I don't know if any of these children. I assume Jacques Mosler's kids were either grown or lived with their mother.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Okay.
So these kids are adopted by Candy and Jacques, and they moved to Houston, where the couple owned a 28-room mansion.
Wow.
Yeah. Very... Not that I want harm to befall anyone in my family to make me an orphan, and I'm also almost 30 now, but if anyone would like to adopt a 30-year-old and take me to a 28-room mansion.
Yeah.
So like I said, they had a lot of different properties. So on top of having this 28-room mansion, they also had a very trendy condo in Key Biscayne, Florida. That was in a sort of complex called the Governor's Apartments.
Okay.
And Key Biscayne is close to Miami, which at the time Miami was considered this like den of iniquity almost. Like it was very, there was gambling, there was sex, there was all of that. But Key Biscayne was a little bit sleepier. It was like a suburb. And even the Governor's Apartments were considered to be like a gated community sort of vibe.
Sure.
So when this murder happens there, it shakes everybody up.
Right.
Like, this is not a place where murders are happening.
Yeah.
So next slide. I know we're zipping through slides, but this next slide here, this is Candy.
Oh my God. You know who she reminds me of?
Who?
I can't remember her name from American Horror Story.
Jessica Lange.
Yes. She looks like Jessica Lange. I
literally thought the exact same thing. That's why I was like, I think she's going to say Jessica Lange.
Absolutely. If I could remember anything like
luckily,
names.
I'm here for you.
Yes.
So a lot of these pictures are from the trial that ends up happening. And this one, the one on the far right there, is Candy. I found a source that has like old news footage and like interviews and stuff. It's actual videos of them. So like I have videos of her talking.
Wow.
I know, we never get that.
These are going to be linked in the brief, right?
Yes, they're all linked in the brief.
I'm excited.
I even took all my links and put them at the bottom of my outline, which is something I think I'm going to start doing, because when Ryan comes and uses the computer, he shuts it down and then I lose all my stuff. Yeah. So just to make sure I didn't lose that one, I snuck it at the bottom of my outline.
Good. That's exciting.
One thing about Candy that I think you and I can sympathize with is that Candy used to get these really bad migraines.
Ugh.
So part of the reason why she did this interview in bed was because she was having these terrible migraines. So a lot of the pictures from the trial and like a lot of the pictures of her, she's in sunglasses, you know, she's in this interview where she's laying in her bed and looks like she's about to tell Bruce Willis she sees dead people.
Yeah.
She's very Haley Joel Osment at this moment.
Yeah.
But she was very charming. She had this little southern accent because she was from Georgia.
I can see that.
Relocated to Texas. So she was this little southern belle. So at this point, everything is going super well for the Moslers. They are having this idyllic life. They've got all this money, all these kids, beautiful home, jewels, furs. They just had everything they could want.
Right.
In 1961, Candy's nephew, Melvin Lane Powers moved to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
He was 20 at the time. If you go to your next slide, that is him. Melvin Powers was born in 1942, and he was the son of Candy's sister, Elizabeth.
There's always an Elizabeth.
There is always an Elizabeth. I was like, we don't really need to know much about his past, but I was like, I have to say his mom's name was Elizabeth.
I appreciate it. At least she is not, like, involved this time, hopefully.
She's not. She has this kid. He was in the Navy for a little bit.
Okay.
Legitimately in the Navy. He was not fraudulent.
He didn't wear a t-shirt with a purple heart on it.
He did not. It is strange how many people we have in these stories, though, that were in the Navy.
Yeah.
Like, Billy Woodward was a Navy man, too.
Mm-hmm.
So he served in the Navy for a bit, and then when he got out, he worked a number of jobs that are unspectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 1961, he was sentenced to 90 days in jail for a, quote, con job.
Okay. Vague.
So for, like, swindling people.
Mm.
And that was in Pontiac, Michigan.
Okay.
So, just like Leonardo Cianciulli, I don't know what kind of fraud he committed. I don't know. There's probably a book about this. I have not read it.
That's okay.
But he goes and he serves his 90 days, and then he ends up on probation.
Mm-hmm.
So, while he's on probation, he thinks, I'm going to relocate. I'm getting out of Michigan, and I'm going to go, for whatever reason, he decided to go to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he went to Houston because of Candy or if he was going to Houston and then his mom, because his mom told him, your aunt, my sister, lives in Houston. Hook up with her, find her, and then she'll take care of you, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's why he went, but his mom informed him that Candy lived there. So he did go and find Candy and Jacques and was like, hi, it's me.
Yeah.
So the Moslers took him in because they were great. They were nice people.
Mm-hmm.
If their house already had 10 kids, they had 10 kids plus Mel Powers.
Yeah.
But it was fine because they had 28 rooms.
Right. Plenty of room.
No one's sharing a room here.
Nope.
Who's going to share with Cousin Mel? Not only did they take him in, but Jacques agreed to give him a job.
Wow.
At one of his financial firms, which was, like, super nice.
Yeah.
And also agreed to help him with his business ventures.
Okay.
He was, like, a burgeoning businessman.
Sure.
And who better to, like, teach you about business than your uncle, through marriage, but your uncle, who is, like, a crazy millionaire from all of his businesses.
Yeah, honestly.
So he was in a really good place. Yeah. He's gone from jail to, and I don't know if they knew he had been in jail. I don't know if he arrived and was like, what up? I'm on probation. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what the deal was, but he's in a great spot right now. At this point in 61, Jacques was in his late 60s. So he's an old man.
Mm-hmm.
And he started spending less time in Houston with Candy and the kids and more time in Key Biscayne for his health.
Okay.
I don't know why Candy and co did not go with him, but maybe the Houston house was nicer. I don't know.
Or maybe, I mean, she's used to the South. Maybe she really hated Chicago winters. Or
no,
wait, that's Miami. That's Florida. Wait a second.
Yeah, they were going to Florida.
I don't know.
I don't know why you would go to Chicago for your health.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking city, bigger hospital, but, like, maybe not.
Mm-mm. And I don't know what, like, his health reasons were.
Yeah.
But he was old, and he wanted, I guess, maybe not dry heat of Texas, but the wet, humid heat of Florida. It makes no sense.
I don't know.
It makes no sense. But he's
just
going to Florida.
Just the natural place to go when you're a senior citizen.
That's true. That is true. He was basically what do they call them? Snowbird?
Uh-huh. Yep.
A snowbird, except he wasn't coming from, like, Massachusetts. He was just coming from another part of the South.
Yeah.
I have no answers. Again, if there is a book about this, I probably could have read it. But I did not. Everything's going fine still. Mel has come in. He's living in the house with them. He's doing this business, but everything's fine so far.
Cool. Unusual, but, you know.
Well, we're gonna get into some parts here pretty directly that are kind of yucky. So
great. Lay it on me.
I don't want to spoil it, but there's some stuff in here that's kind of yucky. So
we'll get there.
We'll get there. I'm just trying to warn the audience about spoiling it. Oh, so a year later, 1962, one of the household servants told Jacques that Candy and Mel had begun an affair.
Yuck. Okay, I vaguely remember this.
Yes.
Just because of
the incest?
Incest, yeah.
Yeah, so here be incest, here be dragons. If anybody is opposed, this might not be the episode for you. I mean, not opposed. Everyone's opposed to incest.
But if that's going to be triggering in any way to you.
Yeah, this might not be the episode for you.
Yeah.
Jacques didn't, I guess, want to act out of, like, salacious rumors from the help.
Sure.
So the first thing he did was go to Candy's diary. And he...
Okay.
And he reads it, and it's full of just, like, all the steamy moments between her and her nephew.
Gross.
Why would you write that down? If you were gonna do some incest, why would you leave a paper trail?
You know, this is the second time, too, that we've got a diary from a woman, and I just don't know either. I can't.
If you're gonna do some crime, why are you writing about it? I know, like, I think incest is a crime. I'm not sure.
I think it depends on the state, and it depends on the relation.
Well, all I know is quit writing your nasty stuff down. Quit being nasty and quit writing it down.
But mostly just quit being nasty.
I know someone is listening that's nasty, and you need to quit it.
Life
Stop
advice
that.
From Hannah.
Quit being nasty. So, Jacques fires Mel from the financial firm.
Reasonable.
And he ordered him to leave the mansion or, quote, face arrest.
Reasonably so.
Yeah. I mean, Mel was 21 at this point, and Jacques was in his late 60s. So, like, I don't think he was probably in, like, the physical condition to kick his butt.
Right.
But he probably wanted to kick his butt.
He wasn't about to throw hands, but if he could.
He's like, if I wouldn't die trying, you'd be catching these hands, boy. Yeah. So Mel kicked up a big fuss about leaving the mansion.
What's the big deal? I don't get it. I'm just having relations with your wife, who also happens to be my aunt by blood.
Yeah, my blood aunt.
What's the big deal?
I'm sleeping with my aunt.
Someone's gonna take this out of context.
Whatever. There's so much stuff people could take out of context in this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in this entire show.
Mm-hmm.
So please don't. So he kicks up a big fuss. I don't know if he denied it. I assume there was a denial happening. But he eventually did leave.
Mm-hmm.
But not before he said that he would one day return, quote, as owner of the mansion.
Oh, gross.
How dramatic.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, do you think you're in a movie? Real people don't say these things.
One day.
I know. You'll all work for me.
Yeah.
Me. Mel Powers.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, Jacques and Candy officially separated because, duh. Yeah, you don't stick with your wife. Plus, it's not like he was afraid of divorce. He'd already had one.
Right.
You know? But
plus,
you don't stick with your wife who's you just found out is sleeping with her nephew.
Yeah, plus he's got evidence of it. So,
yes.
Like written evidence.
So they separated, but they didn't divorce. And the reason for this was because he had a bunch of money. So when they had gotten married, he had a bunch of money when they got married. So they had a prenup. So a prenuptial agreement is when you sign a legal document that says, if we are to divorce, this is the conditions that will happen.
Right.
It happens a lot for people who have, like, a large estate or something to lose in the case of a divorce.
Right.
So you find that a lot with, like, celebrities and rich people. But in Jacques and Candy's prenup, it was stipulated that if Jacques filed, Candy would get half of everything he owned. And if Candy filed, she would only receive $200,000.
Wow.
So Candy didn't want to file for divorce.
Right.
Because she would basically
take a loss.
I guess be poor. $200,000 in 1960 money.
Yeah.
Is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money in today too.
But it's not half of $300 million.
It's really not. And obviously he didn't want to because he didn't want to give away half of his.
Yeah.
He didn't want to give away basically $150 million. Yeah. I don't blame him. Mm-mm. But while they were separated, Jacques paid a stipend to Candy every week. He paid her $5,000, which today would be $42,000.
Can somebody pay me that much a week?
Yeah, like I said, even if somebody paid me $5,000 a week, that would be great. But if somebody paid me $42,000 a week,
I'll take the 5.
At my previous job, that is more than I made in a year.
Yeah,
and at my current job, that is much more than I make in a year.
Right.
Yeah. So
I'll take the 5 though. I'm not going to be greedy. I'll take the $5,000 a week.
I'll take $5 a week. Who am I kidding? Like.
I would take even $500 a week before, like, assuming it's not getting taxed. That's still more than I make.
I don't think it was getting taxed because it was basically just like a gift from a husband to a wife.
Exactly. So I would even take $500. I'm so not picky.
You're so reasonable.
I'm extremely reasonable. And I won't cheat on you.
With your nephew.
Right. Well, first of all, I don't have a nephew.
Luckily for Scott, you don't have a nephew.
If I was going to cheat on somebody with my nephew, that would be like my brother's cat, and that's certainly not going to happen.
Ooh.
Because first of all, Winston's a jerk.
He is a jerk, and he'll bite you.
And I know that my brother's listening to this. Hey, your cat's a jerk.
Your cat's a jerk and also a pervert.
Yes. But yeah, see, I'm not going to cheat. I'll just take the $500 a week very happily.
Just gladly collect it and be fine.
That's right. And I'll stay out of your
But you wouldn't
hair.
be separated. You wouldn't be separated in the first place.
True.
Because you wouldn't have cheated with your nephew.
Does that mean I get more than $500 a week?
Well, when they were married, he was giving her, like, furs and diamonds and stuff.
Well, I mean,
so
I guess that works, too.
I guess.
I guess.
So, this brings us back to June 29th, 1964.
Okay.
Jacques is dead, and Candy has an alibi.
And which city did they find him in? In Florida, right?
Florida, Key Biscayne.
Key Biscayne, okay.
Because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in Florida.
Well, yeah.
So, Jacques is dead. Candy has an alibi. She and all 4 children, she had insisted that all 4 of their adopted kids, ages 11 to 20, get up with her at 1 a.m. and accompany her to the ER to get her treatment for a migraine. I don't know why you would take all 4 of your children to the ER with you when their father is also home. But
yeah,
I get migraines, and sometimes when you get migraines, you don't make the best decisions.
True.
I don't think that is what happened, but I am going to cast seeds of doubt.
Yeah, because
that's what I do on this show.
Because if she was only looking for an alibi, then she could have just gone to the ER, and the medical record would serve as an alibi. So she clearly wanted to get the kids out.
But all 4 kids would be at home.
Yeah, so clearly it was a ruse to get the children out of the house.
Could have been.
I believe so.
Or she could have said, nothing makes me feel better than having my babies with me while I go and get, I think she was getting like an Imitrex shot. That's what it sounded like when I read it.
Still suspicious.
Going to do an abortive, it sounded like. They were gone from 1 a.m. to 4:30 a.m.
Ugh.
And this was corroborated by the ER staff.
Right.
So she definitely was there with her 4 kids. These 4 kids who have already lived through a very traumatic event.
Right. Extremely.
So now their adopted dad has also been murdered.
God.
Police start investigating, and they found a bloody handprint in the kitchen of the condo.
Ooh, amateur hour.
Some things said a bloody handprint. A Crime to Remember says, like, they found an arm print that they like fingerprint dusted or whatever. So somehow the killer's prints are at the scene, or somebody's prints are at the scene. They also started to interview all the neighbors in the building because it's a condo.
Sure. So surely somebody heard something.
Everybody heard stuff. So they talked to neighbors, and the neighbors said that between like 1:30 and 2, they were awakened by, quote, thumps coming from the Mosler unit.
Okay.
And then they all heard Jacques' dog, Rocky, barking.
Okay.
Rocky was a big old boxer dog, much like Hazel, although Hazel was a pit bull.
Right.
But similar style of dog, make and model. So he's barking like incessantly, waking everybody up. One neighbor heard Jacques yell, "Don't do that to me."
Oh.
So we have what is called in the legal business, we have an excited utterance.
Ooh.
That is heard. And we also have Peggy Fletcher, who lived across the hall. She heard the door open and close, heard the Mosler door open and close. And so she peeked out of her own door to see what was going on.
Of course.
And she said that she saw a man turning the corner and then watched him from her window as he drove away in a white car.
Nosy neighbors come through.
I know. If anything ever happens here, we're going to be so set because the lady across the street is the nosiest woman I've ever met.
You'll be good to go.
We will, because she'll just come outside and stare at our house. So if anything is going on, we know we can trust her.
So the first time I went to Hannah's new place, we like pulled up in the driveway, and we always have like gifts and stuff for each other. So we're like trying to unload the vehicle, and this woman is just standing there on her side porch, just staring so intently at us. And like we thought she went inside, and like 2 seconds she's back. And then it's just like, lady, do you really have nothing better to be doing?
She is the one-man neighborhood watch.
Yeah, for real.
She knows everything that is going on. Other neighbors heard footsteps and said they sounded heavy, like they were being made by a man.
Because obviously women are just such
women
delicate flowers.
Stomp. Yeah, that reminds me of how in the 60s, women weren't allowed to be archaeologists.
Because of their heels.
Because their high heels would disrupt the units, and their low-cut shirts would distract other archaeologists.
Yep.
Like, what a wild time to be a woman.
Yep. You mean like now?
Yeah, similarly to now. When the police arrived, Rocky the dog was also chained to a doorknob in the kitchen.
Okay.
So, police conclude their interviews with the neighbors, and they start to interview Candy, trying to figure out who could possibly have motive to kill Jacques Mosler.
Right.
Candy told them that her husband was a closeted homosexual.
Why is... Okay, fine. Whatever. I'm not even gonna...
I guess.
I'm just not even gonna fight this one.
Okay. Well, she said he was a closeted homosexual and that he would often meet random men at the beach and bring them home for sex.
Okay, and that is... So she is implying that one of these random other homosexuals killed her husband?
Yes, her estranged husband.
Estranged husband, right.
She is saying, like, listen, I don't know who killed him, but I do know that he brings these gays home.
Ugh.
And that one of these random gays may have killed him, which is not unheard of.
No, it's certainly not.
First of all, not unheard of, but this is the story she's telling.
Right.
So the police follow up on this, and they find a gay man who was in the vicinity. I don't know how they knew he was gay. I don't know.
Hey, you.
What?
Hey, you. Yeah, you gay-looking boy over there. Get over here.
Hey, you, with the rainbow flag hanging off of your back.
You must know all the other gays, right?
Well, their idea was he was gay. He was in the area.
Yeah.
He knows what happened, but they take him in and they question him, and then they released him, and we're like, nah, he knows nothing. His only crime is being gay in 1964. They also found a man who was covered in blood. And
excuse me?
They found a man who was covered in blood.
Just like a random
And they were
man?
like, and they were like, well, he's covered in blood. He must be the killer because he's covered in blood. But it turned out he had just been beaten up by a group of teens, and the blood was his own.
Oh, boy. Florida,
Yeah.
am I right?
Yeah, a wild turn.
Yeah.
The man covered in blood is not the assailant. It actually just turns out he got beaten up by teenagers.
That is so random.
I know.
I feel bad for the guy.
I do too.
I wouldn't want to get beat up by teenagers.
I hope that they immediately were like, oh, well, we're also going to look into this.
I hope so.
Not like, well, you're not the killer of this millionaire.
Yeah.
You're off our radar.
Mm.
As is so often the case, the spouse and the people close to the deceased, are often looked at as suspects.
Right.
Fun story. Liz's bridal shower was kind of like vaguely book themed.
Yeah.
Because of her being a librarian. And so I was her maid of honor. So I put together her bridal shower, and we had like the answer cards that you would like write on the games. They were made from dictionary pages, and I had classic books as centerpieces on each of the tables, and her guest book was an actual book of fairy tales that people signed. Mm-hmm. But when I was at the store looking for a book to use, I had texted our friends Brittany and Susan and our other friend Crystal and Katie, who are the other bridesmaids, and I said, I think I found the perfect book to use as the guest book. And it was a book called It's Always the Husband.
Oh, God.
And it was about a spousal murder. And they told me no. Can you believe?
Unreasonable.
I also was told by Elizabeth's parents that I wasn't allowed in my maid of honor speech to, at the very end, have Elizabeth and Scott stare into each other's eyes and then say, you are now looking at the person statistically most likely to murder you.
That's the most Hannah thing in the world.
I know, but I was told in no uncertain terms that I was not allowed to include that in my speech.
It wasn't being filmed. It would have been fine.
No one knows how to have fun.
I know. How dare they?
So they start looking at Candy because, of course they do. She stands the most to gain. Mm-hmm. She stands to gain the most from this murder.
Right. Stands to gain literally everything. Screw the prenup.
Exactly. It's a great way to get around the prenup. It doesn't take them long to discover that she's having an affair with her 24-year-old nephew.
Yeah, they probably just found her diary.
Yeah. Or they found love letters, and they found photographic evidence of Candy and Mel's like date nights and travels. Like them on the ski slopes and them at concerts.
That's gross.
I know. So Ryan and I do that. Ryan and I will, like, when we used to actually go on dates,
right.
I have a thing that has, like, business cards and coasters and stuff from places we've been and things we've done. Mm-hmm. But he's not my nephew.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure. My sister is older than me, but she's not that much older than me. She's not old enough to have an almost 32-year-old.
Yuck.
They also found a long list of neighbors, employees, hotel clerks, etc., who had seen Mel and Candy share, quote, affectionate moments.
Blech. Gross.
Yucky.
Quit
like
being
I told
yucky.
you. Like, the murder is not even the yuckiest part of this.
No.
They also had some witnesses. This part's so yucky, and I don't even know how I'm going to describe this, but police also had witnesses who claimed that Melvin had bragged to them about the cars and clothes and other fine things his aunt had given him in exchange for giving her oral sex. Big sigh. So everybody asked Candy about this. The police, the media, because the media had gotten hold of this, like,
of course,
right away. So they all asked her, and she denied all of it, always. And then they kept asking and asking and asking. And then eventually, when she was asked, I guess, by the media for like the millionth time, she just shrugged and said, nobody's perfect.
Gross. Yeah, you don't have to be perfect to be better than that.
Yeah, nobody's perfect, but at least I'm not committing incest.
Yeah. Gross.
Like, I don't know how to write a check, but I'm definitely not sleeping with a family member.
Yuck. Just yuck, yuck, yuck.
Ugh, it's so gross. So, Mel Powers, the nephew, said he was home in Houston. That was his alibi. But police liked him for the crime.
Well, yeah.
They found witnesses that claimed to have seen him in Miami. They found his fingerprints at the scene, and they found Jacques Mosler's blood in a white car that was left at the Miami airport. And the car allegedly belonged to Jacques Mosler. And remember, the assailant, Peggy, what was her last name? Fletcher, I think? Yes, Peggy Fletcher said that the assailant had driven away in a white car.
Right.
So police think he flew to Miami from Texas, killed Mosler, and then flew back before anybody knew he was dead. Mm-hmm. They also figured that the reason the assailant hadn't been attacked by Rocky the dog was because the dog knew the killer.
Right.
He knew Mel.
Right.
So, which would also explain how he was able to restrain him and tie him up in the kitchen.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I would hope that if some rando broke into our house, Hazel would, like, go into big dog mode.
I don't know.
But I have no evidence to support that.
She can't even handle when somebody takes off their hat, so I mean...
And who knows what this dog will ever do. Let's hope she never has a reason to try.
I'm pretty sure she won't.
So the theory that Mel Powers was the killer was bolstered by an entry in Jacques' diary. And the diary said, quote, "If Mel and Candace don't kill me first, I'll have to kill them."
Oh, gosh.
I know, these diaries.
Yeah. I mean, hey, this is the day before, like, you don't have cell phones. You can't just post on Twitter when you're upset.
Can you imagine if in your Twitter you used a... Some people use their Twitter like a diary, but not like this.
They used to.
Hey, if I turn up dead, it's probably my wife and her nephew that she's sleeping with.
Listen, I know for a fact that people who genuinely feel like they are being put in threatening positions when the police won't help post stuff like that for real, because they're like, I don't want this to be misconstrued as an accident or as a suicide, because it wasn't, and this person has it out for me and nobody's helping me.
I'm glad though that they like didn't even try to make it look like an accident or a suicide. Like, he accidentally stabbed himself 39 times and then beat himself to death with a vase.
Yeah, like, what's the plan? Like,
he fell and hit his head on a rock and then just kept hitting his head. Go with the home
Parker route.
Parker defense. Before she could be arrested, because they're gonna arrest Candy and Mel.
Right.
Obviously.
Right, obviously.
Before she could be arrested, Candy flew to Minnesota to the Mayo Clinic to have treatment for her migraines.
Okay.
I wish I had enough money to just go to Minnesota and get treatment for my migraines at the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
But the police asked her to surrender herself. Like, you need to come back and surrender yourself, or we're just going to show up someday and arrest you, and it's not going to be cute.
Right.
So she flew back to Miami with a private nurse and wearing her Mayo Clinic ID bracelet.
Oh, poor baby.
And they had like a little arrest, like a cute little arrest.
Yeah.
And she was really charming. The press really liked her. If you go to your next slide, this is Mel, her and Mel and their attorneys and her kids at like different, this actually might be the same one, but they're at press conferences and stuff. They did a lot of press. It was said that like while other prisoners would be yelling through bars and stuff, she would blow kisses at them and was just like this very charming little lady, which, like I said, there is a link. It is in the brief, and you can watch some actual footage of her talking, and she, I think, is in bed, so it's not like she's not working with a full deck of cards at that moment, but you can still see a little bit of her. Both of them were arrested, and the case went to trial in 1966.
I want to know where Elizabeth is during all this.
Hopefully, if I were her, I'd try to move to the moon.
Right?
I'd be like
your
please
sister
don't talk to
and
me.
your son. Ugh.
Yeah, no thanks.
Because it's not like she's standing by his side.
No. Candy is, though.
Oh, well, yeah, Candy is.
Candy hired for herself attorneys Clyde Woody and Marion Rosen. And for Mel, she hired Percy Foreman and William F. Walsh. Percy Foreman was the man who had defended James Earl Ray a few years before that. James Earl Ray was the one who was convicted of assassinating Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, wow. High profile. The Edgar Snyder of the day.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Edgar Snyder is going on the bingo card.
I love him.
I know.
So, listen. Edgar Snyder, there's never a fee unless we get money for
That's
you.
right.
But she did have to pay these lawyers. And since her husband's estate was frozen until after they figured out if she was involved in his murder, she paid their retainer with jewelry and diamonds and fur that Jacques Mosler had given her before their separation.
Right.
She was like, listen, I can't pay you with money, but I do have this ermine I can give to you. That's how she did it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So it was a good move for her to get these lawyers on retainer because they made sure that Candy and Mel never saw a single day in jail during the trial.
Right.
They stayed free on bond.
Yeah.
So they paid basically to say, we're not going to go anywhere. We can just hang out in our huge house. It's like a whole thing. She rented these apartments. She rented 2 apartments, and she lived in one, and her kids lived, like, in the next one. I don't know where Mel Powers was living during this, but
if I had to
maybe
guess.
Possibly with Candy, but that would, if I was his defense attorney, I would be nipping that right in the bud.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't have this written down, but I did read that they were really stringent during the jury selection process. So they were like, can you stay unbiased even if you find out about incest? Can you, like, you're going to hear a lot of stuff. Jeez. Can you remain, what's the word? Objective.
Can you imagine being, like, called in for jury duty and the defense lawyers ask you that question?
No.
Gross.
No.
I'd be like, see ya.
Yeah, no, I can't. And also, please let me leave.
Right.
The trial starts in 1966, and the case was heavily covered by the media, and the details were considered, quote, so lurid that the judge admitted no spectator under 21.
Oh, wow.
So you were not allowed in to watch this happen unless you were over the age of 21.
I mean, I can't say that I blame him, but doesn't that mean that some of her children wouldn't have been permitted in the room? Actually, all of them. The adoptive ones.
Well, the oldest adopted one was 20 at the time of the murder, so she would have been older.
Okay, so maybe just
she would have
21.
been like 22, I think.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be in the room for any of this, hearing about my adopted mom sleeping with her nephew.
I guess you could maybe find solace in the fact that you don't share blood with her.
True. True. They stood by her, though. Like, they were very supportive of her.
Yeah. I mean, they may have believed that she didn't kill him or have part in him being killed, although the incest thing is pretty undeniable.
The incest thing is where I draw the line.
Yeah.
I can't. I find out my adopted mom is sleeping with her nephew. I'm gonna distance myself from that, I think.
Yeah, especially she is an adult. She does not have to be under that roof, but I can see where she may want to stay because she's got it good.
True, and her younger brothers are still there.
Right.
The defense during the trial, they stuck with the Jacques Mosler was a closeted homosexual. They offered evidence that he had in fact picked up sex workers. Some of them men, and some of them, I believe, were trans individuals.
Okay.
Candy took the stand and testified and said, quote, my husband, unfortunately, very unfortunately, just picked up strangers. The children and I would walk into the apartment and the house would be full of strangers. They were young men mostly, and they'd just clear out as soon as we walked in. He'd just pick them up, sailors and young men, on the beach and in bars, in restaurants, and on the highways. Unquote. Yeah. I mean,
I wonder if they interviewed the kids and asked if that was true.
I don't know. That sort of just speaks for itself.
Yeah, I agree.
So the defense argument was that it could have been one of these random men, or could have been someone that Jacques had business dealings with over the. They even listed off dozens and dozens of instances where he had ruined people financially.
Yikes.
Yeah, so there's other people that have motive, but come on.
Yeah.
But all they have to do is cast reasonable doubt. The burden of proof lies with the prosecution. They have to put the knife in Mel Powers' hand.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
So they're doing a really good job of casting doubt. Now, this part doesn't make a ton of sense to me just because I don't really know what the, like, normal way that this works. But apparently the prosecution gave their closing argument, and then Percy Foreman, who was the defense attorney for Mel Powers, which if you go back one slide and you see the Mel Powers pictures, yes, that guy, like, whispering to Mel Powers is Percy Foreman. Okay. So Percy Foreman hadn't called any witnesses. All the other defense lawyers called the witnesses.
Interesting.
So apparently that meant that he was able to give his closing statement last. I don't know. I don't know the choreography of the courtroom enough to know how that works, but he was able to give a closing statement last. So his words were going to be the final thing the jury heard.
That just seems like so arbitrary to be like, oh, you didn't call any witnesses to the stand, so you get to speak last.
Yeah, I don't know. But he gave his closing argument, and it took 5 hours.
Whoa.
I had college lectures that took less time than that.
Yeah, like all of them.
Yeah. What do you have to say? I just told this entire case in less than an hour. Yeah. What are you saying that's taken 5 hours?
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it worked because the jury was deadlocked. The jury was going to be a hung jury, but it took them 16 hours. And after that time, they found the two not guilty on grounds that there was insufficient evidence against them.
I mean, I can see that.
Yes. So, next slide here. As the trial finished, Candy kissed all of her lawyers and every single juror.
On the mouth?
I think so.
Okay. Just kissed them right on the lips.
And then she kissed Mel Powers on the lips, and the two left in a gold Cadillac.
Oh, I wish that my face could transcend into the minds of the listeners right now.
Yeah. See, so there's family members that I would kiss on the lips, like my grandma, but I'm also not sleeping with my grandma.
I always kind of thought that that's kind of weird, personally. I know everybody has their own opinions on that.
Yeah.
But the only person I kiss on the lips is my husband, you know.
I kiss Hazel on the lips.
Well, yeah, but she's a blessing.
She is a blessing. Mel Powers, not a blessing. Not a precious gift from above. So these pictures on this slide are them leaving in the Cadillac, them embracing after the trial is over, looking every bit like a couple.
Yeah.
That's not how your aunt looks at you.
It's like they look like they just won the Super Bowl.
They're going to Disney World.
Yep.
They're in Florida.
They are.
So after this, Candy threw an acquittal party.
If that is not the most rich person thing to do.
You know who else threw an acquittal party?
If you say OJ.
OJ Simpson.
Of course he did.
I'm just saying. He threw an acquittal party, and he was like, I'm gonna never stop looking for who killed my wife. Yeah, right. And then he looked on every golf course he could find. Anyway, she threw an acquittal party, and if you go to your next slide, the kids had taken one of the murder trial posters and had all the guests sign it like a guest book.
Uh-huh.
So that's what's happening there.
Nice.
Excellent. So because Candy had been acquitted, she inherited Jacques' entire estate and all of his businesses.
Right, as his wife, his widow.
Exactly. She changed the name of his company to Candace Mosler Enterprises.
Okay.
And she and Mel lived together for a little bit. They stayed together for like a couple years, but eventually drifted apart.
Thank God. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you've said all episode.
Yeah, the incest stopped, and that's the greatest part of this.
Seriously.
She refused to talk about it, refused to talk about the split. She called it, quote, that regrettable circumstance in Florida.
I hope she's talking about the entire affair as the regrettable instance.
I think she was talking about Jacques being killed.
Okay.
I don't know, but she refused to talk about any of it. And people close to them said that Mel had left her.
Hopefully he, got a little wiser.
Well, we'll get to Mel in a minute.
No. Why do you do this to me?
It's my job, Elizabeth. So Candy remarried a few years after she and Mel split.
Was this her uncle or?
No. It was a man who was 18 years younger than her.
Oh.
He was an electrician.
Okay.
Because she had married an old man.
Yeah.
And then she got a taste for the young man.
She just couldn't go back.
Because Mel was 20 years younger than her.
Another.
No. Mel was 30 years younger
another
than
reason
her.
why this is nasty.
Yeah, she's big nasty. Like, I don't care about somebody sleeping with somebody younger than you. Like, as long as they're of legal age and can consent.
Mm-hmm.
But your nephew?
Yeah.
Your much younger nephew?
That you probably, like, changed their diaper. And, yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yucky.
Super yuck.
Nasty. So she remarried Barnett Wade Garrison.
Okay.
He was 18 years younger than her. He was an electrician. And they had a really turbulent marriage. He came home one night and found that he was locked out of the house. So he tried to climb up the side of the house to a window on the 3rd floor and apparently had a pistol in one hand.
Okay.
For reasons, as one does.
Sure, right.
I wouldn't be confident to scale the side of a house with both hands, let alone a pistol in one hand. So he fell.
Of course.
From the side of the house, and he was in a coma. He was in a coma for 2 weeks, and when he woke up, he had permanent brain damage.
Yikes.
And then they got a divorce. Because obviously their marriage wasn't doing great.
Well, yeah, clearly.
In 1976, in a Miami hotel room, Candy Mosler died from an overdose of migraine medication.
Wow.
I don't know if this was on purpose or by accident, but it is what happened.
Right.
She was wearing a nightgown and a full face of makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dolly Parton.
But not dead.
Did you know that?
That she sleeps in makeup?
Dolly Parton sleeps in a full face of makeup with her wig next to the bed just in case there's like an emergency.
Yes, I did know that. Because she is a legend.
She is a legend. I can't wait to be old and wear a wig and keep it next to the bed.
WWDD.
Just in case.
What would Dolly do?
Exactly. Good Lord. So she, kept her age really buttoned up. No one knew like how old she was. She was 62 when she died.
Wow. Not that old, really.
1976 was the year that she died, and Melvin attended her funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide here. On the left, that is Melvin and the, quote, attractive mystery blonde that he brought to the funeral.
Yikes.
So Melvin never married and had become a real estate developer in Houston. He was lived a very lavish, ostentatious life. He liked to wear snake and ostrich skin boots. He owned a 142-foot-long yacht called the Jan Pamela. And he had put onto it a 23-foot section that had a jacuzzi and a mirrored ceiling.
He is like the 70s embodied in one person.
He is. He also...
He did not age well.
Looks so yucky.
He looks orange like Trump with kind of the crazy hair like Trump a little bit.
Well, he is a real estate developer.
That's true.
He looks to me like a skeleton with leather stretched around it.
Yeah, like there's something about his face skin that just looks gross.
It looks wrong.
It does.
He swung between success and financial difficulty. At one point, his estate was worth over $200 million.
Wow.
And then in 1982, he declared bankruptcy. But then rebuilt his fortune again. Like, he did that a lot. He would have a lot of money, be doing really well, and then bankruptcy. And then he'd be doing really well, and then bankruptcy. Yeah. So, he was all over the place. Yeah. And on October 8th, 2010...
Oh, my goodness.
So, just 10 years ago, he was found dead at the age of 68 in his home in Houston. Undetermined causes.
Wow.
And that is the entire story. That's all I know. That's everything I know about this.
Every yucky detail.
I have told you every yucky detail that I know.
I just can't get over how poorly he aged. Because honestly, like, he's not my type, but, like, the photos of him younger during the trial, he was at least an attractive guy. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
You know what he kind of looks like in the black and white photo? He kind of looks like the Geico caveman in the face.
Yeah, he does. It's the furrowed brows, I think.
Yeah.
And the bad facial hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't look good.
No, he doesn't look healthy. Like, and
No.
like, honestly, he looks like puffy, like as if he's swollen.
Ooh.
Do you see it?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't imagine. So there was a whole thing in of the day where like people who swung in those circles were doing like a lot of drugs.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't imagine he wasn't on drugs.
Yeah, especially in the 70s, 60s and 70s.
Yeah. In general, lived a very up and down sort of life. But what do you think? So we've had so many. I'm not purposely doing crimes where people that are ambiguous.
Right.
That's just kind of the way of it sometimes. But
yeah, I mean, I think without having like the police reports, I think it was them.
I do too.
Like, obviously, I would expect anyone who is like being tried for murder to be like happy when they are found not guilty, but not like, oh my god, let's ride off in a gold convertible and have a celebration party.
And kiss on the mouth.
Yeah. Like, that's just like, it's like, that's the reaction to winning the lottery, okay? Which is basically what she did.
She did. She got all of that money. Not half of it, not 20,000 or 200,000. She got all of it.
All of the properties, everything.
All of the businesses, all of it.
Yeah. And also, and you could argue, well, they were estranged anyway, but if my husband owned properties and owned companies and his name was on them, I wouldn't change them to my name. I'd let his legacy live.
Yeah, your murdered husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the police kind of did this. They were like, okay, are you going to like keep looking for who killed him since they were found not guilty? And they were like, no, it was them.
Yeah.
But they can't be tried again.
Right, double jeopardy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think they were just two yucky people being yucky together.
Two yucky murderers.
Yep.
And they got caught being yucky.
Very much caught. Very yucky.
And it doesn't sound like they were being very sneaky.
No, they were just like, here we are.
Yeah, there's a lot of different like stories that I didn't really get into, but there's a lot of, again, we're saying it a lot, but there's a lot of yucky stories involved with this.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about what we're reading, what we're recommending?
It's going to take me a minute to think. Do you want to talk about what you're reading first?
I can.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
And remember, if you're not reading something, you can always just recommend.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
So I am reading right now Unorthodox. It is actually titled, because it has a subtitle, it is called Unorthodox, The Scandalous Rejection of My Hasidic Roots by Deborah Feldman. They just made a Netflix original like limited series that we watched, and we watched it before I got the book because I was interested in the book but wanted to see if it was something that I would be interested in reading about. Mm-hmm. So watched it, then I got the book, and the book is, it's not like a 1-for-1. It's not like they made the book directly into a series. It's more like they made a series inspired by the book. Mm-hmm. But so far, it's very, very good. It obviously is nonfiction and about a culture that I don't know a lot about. Mm-hmm. So being an anthropologist, that's something that I find interesting. I like a lot that it goes into some of the things that I don't know a lot about and that the show didn't really have a lot of time to explain. Mm-hmm. But I'm enjoying it.
Well, good.
I'm enjoying it. It's obviously parts of it are upsetting.
Yeah.
Because it is ultimately that she left. So it's like all the reasons that she left in the stories about what caused her to leave.
Yeah.
But it's a quick one. I'm about halfway through it. It's about 300 pages, so it's not like hefty.
Yeah.
But that is what I am working on at the moment.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily like uplifting.
Well, yeah.
But
it's good that you're enjoying it.
I am enjoying it, yes.
I think that I just want to recommend Midsummer.
Yes.
Let's like bring it full circle. Like we said, we were together this weekend and we decided to watch that, which if you have not heard of it, it's not super new, but it's also not super old. It is on Amazon Prime. So if you have that, that's where we watched it. but it's technically a horror film, but I would classify it more as a psychological thriller. I don't do horror, so the fact that I liked it, it's not like super spooky, scary or anything, but it's about a cult, basically. So it is just kind of more creepy than scary.
There are graphic moments in it, though, I will say.
Yes, it does have its rating for, there's nudity, there is, like, gore. Not a whole lot of either of those things, but it does have it. I have a friend who is very sensitive to, like, videos where, like, movies where bones break. There's bones in it. Like, so if you don't like to see broken bones, there's maybe some spots that you want to close your eyes. But it's a really, really great movie. The cinematography of it, like, I was gushing. Yes. Like, you have to pay attention to the visuals and, like, the way that they use, like, mirrors and stuff. And the cinematography is just beautiful, gorgeous.
Yeah. Visually a very beautiful movie.
Absolutely. It's very, like, nothing that's in the movie is unnecessary. Everything's there for a reason, which is so cool.
I really liked watching it with Liz because it's about anthropologists, which I had said going into it that I was prepared to be annoyed or incensed by the portrayal of the Swedish culture or Swedish individuals.
Yeah, most of the movie does take place in Sweden, although it's not really.
It's definitely not a normal midsummer celebration. No. But I was ready to be annoyed by, like, oh, Americans just think Swedes are like this or whatever, but I was more annoyed by how the movie thinks anthropology works.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So, and I already had pretty high hopes for it. So, we were just glad because Ryan didn't want to watch it and Scott didn't want to watch it. And we both did. And we were like, yes, we can finally watch it. Because neither of us wanted to watch it alone either.
No, just in case it was scary.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not a big one for watching any movie alone.
Yeah.
I like to experience it with somebody else. But it was fun because there are moments where they speak Swedish and they don't translate it. So I got to translate it for Liz so we could both experience it.
Yeah.
The whole movie together.
And it's not,
that was fun.
It wasn't like any big plot points or anything, but it definitely added to know.
It did.
It added to it.
Yeah. I was nervous. I had said to Liz, I hope that they don't do like, we're going to explain our entire evil plot to each other in Swedish, and then the English-speaking audience won't know what's going on, but I would have it ruined for me. But that didn't happen either, so that was nice.
It was really, really beautifully done. I don't know if it won any awards, but I hope it did. Cause
I don't know. I didn't look into
it. Yeah, because it was really fantastic. So that's what I would like to recommend this week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I was glad that we got to spend time together and that we got to experience a movie that we both wanted to see together.
And now we have to plan a day to meet somewhere and maybe have dinner because I left my Nintendo Switch at her house.
Oops. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that more and figure out when we're going to do that because I also have to buy a car.
Yeah. Joy.
Yeah. I've had quite a week. We said at the beginning of our first recording of 2020, I had lost my job. And then my car has died, so I have to buy a new car. But I did get a part-time job at our local library. So now Liz and I both work at our local libraries.
I'm excited. I just can't wait to hear all of your crazy stories because there's always crazy stuff happening with us.
Yeah, so we can exchange library stories.
Yeah, everyone who doesn't know anything about libraries is always like, oh my God, that must be so cool. It's just quiet. And you get to sit and read, and I'm like, you've never gone to a library, have you?
Yeah.
Nothing like that.
If something weird's gonna happen, it's gonna be at the library.
It is. I've seen the weirdest crap. Like, a guy just in a pirate costume for no good reason on a normal, like, Tuesday, no holiday, nothing. A guy came in with a broadsword strapped to his back once. Like,
As you do.
Yeah, he wasn't threatening or anything, but, like, he had it, and our security guard politely told him it was against policy to have swords in the library. He took it gracefully, but then the next time he came in with a quarterstaff, I seriously am not making this up.
Are you sure you're not a D&D NPC?
Right? It's what it feels like. It's just so random. Like, we never know what we're going to get.
So we have talked about in the future possibly making a Patreon, and we've talked about some Patreon rewards. That could be one Patreon reward, is that we do a live stream and we tell library stories.
Yeah, that could be.
Tell some crazy stuff that have happened in libraries.
Yeah.
That does bring us, though, to Elizabeth.
Yes, Hannah.
Where can the people find us?
We are Briefcase Crimes pretty much everywhere that you listen to your podcasts, and as well as YouTube if you are unable to use a podcast platform. We are also on all of the major social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. If you would like to support us monetarily, we are also on Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/briefcasecrimes. Or you can purchase one of our book recommendations from bookshop.org. That supports us as well as local bookshops. So a local bookshop will get a percentage of the sale, as will we. Links to all of that stuff, as well as our brief, are always in our link tree, which is in our descriptions and our bios.
Excellent. And with that, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.